everybody. Welcome to Take the Black, the only show on the internet where we discuss the things that matter, like space lasers, dragons, the Ukraine, maybe, you don't know, and the fourth season of the television event, Stranger Things on Netflix, we have seen in its entirety ahead of time. Hello, Martha. Hello, Christian. Hey, Christian. Hello, Terry. Hello, everybody, for joining us. And hello, Daniel Roman, my ever reliable co-host. How are you doing today?
I am doing excellently. I've been super obsessed with Stranger Things this past week. So I guess I'm coming to you. It feels like I'm coming to you from the upside down. So all's right, maybe? How have you been? How's life?
I've been really good. Yeah, we watched a lot of Stranger Things lately, of course. We're gonna talk all of that. No spoilers. We're gonna do a non-spoiler review of the fourth season of Stranger Things on the Netflix. But we are going to hit a couple other big stonking topics before that, including the trailer for one, Thor 4 Love and Thunder, the next big Marvel cinematic movie after the last big Marvel cinematic movie came out. God, was it like 2 weeks ago it came out, and now it's already old news? I think it might be it. Daniel, should we play the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder and give our thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And thank you, Martha. I appreciate that. All right, let's let it rip. Okay, so Thor: Love and Thunder, big old MCU movie coming out, important. We have Taika Waititi returning to the set. We have Chris Hemsworth rocking some kind of 80s t-shirt vest gear. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy. Daniel, do you want to see this movie more or less after you have seen this trailer? Dad bod.
I mean, of course, I want to see it more after seeing this trailer. I feel like they kind of busted out a few of the big guns for this trailer. They're like, we need to show them a little bit more of Natalie Portman here as the mighty Thor. We need to show Gorr, we're going to see in a second. So yeah, I'm stoked. What about you? Are you looking more or less forward to this now?
More. I'm still whelmed by pretty much everything Marvel, but it does look fun, and I like Taika Waititi, and I like Christian Bale as a sexy, balding, creepy Voldemort, and just to be completely brutally honest, the fact that they blow all of that, Chris Hemsworth gets a full nude scene is fun. And there is Gorr the God Butcher. What do you think of Christian Bale, Daniel, as the villain?
I think that's a great cast. I mean, so personally, I don't know Gorr too well from the comics. Obviously, he's out slaying gods. No, nobody, not a single person. But yeah, I feel like Christian Bale as a Marvel villain, I could see working really well. You know, he goes all the way. He commits to the roles. So
that's true.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good.
He loses the weight, he gains the weight. Is he like in black and white? What's the deal with the cinematography on him? Is he like living a black and white world or something? Full ass.
So that looks like it was whatever that specific place was, because Thor was in a kind of a more black and white shot there too. So yeah, they're gonna be fighting somewhere where the color is negatived out, which I'm okay with. I feel like the nice thing with the Taika Waititi Thor movies is that they are really fun. He's not afraid to do goofy stuff. I feel like he doesn't take himself too seriously, which fits this style really well. And you know, the older Thor movies were good, but they did take themselves more seriously. Like, they were still funny, but they weren't laughing at themselves the way that the character has since Taika Waititi took over. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like, I mean, Marvel, they never put out bad stuff, but I feel like this could be one of their better recent movies.
I mean, we won't know until we see it, but Taika Waititi is a pretty much golden child. And also, I like Christian's comment. Yes, the mechanic versus Thor. Although Christian, I love being pedantic about film and TV. I think you mean The Machinist, the movie where Christian Bale lost like 1,000,000 pounds to play an incredibly thin person. So that's just me being the obnoxious guy at a party who can't let a thing slide and has to correct you on the tiniest little detail.
What do you? What's up? What do you think? So, like, we talk about Christian Bale's method acting, the things he committed to for the Machinist. What do you think he did for this role? How did he commit to Gorr?
I think he became a walking I mean, well, look at him. He looks all haggard and emaciated and has like this kind of gross plum-eating smile. I'm sure he was Gorr. I'm sure he inhabited Gorr. I'm sure he was like, what would a dark god-killing monster really be like? Who would he be? What's his backstory? And he just dug into it and he sunk in there and he wouldn't break character when they called cut, and he was really annoying. And he would only be, they'd be like, Christian, you're on in 5. And he's like, who's Christian? He's like, Gorr, you're on in 5. And he's like, okay, well then I'm going to go over here. And I'm sure it was just the worst, but I'm sure the performance will be fun.
Yeah, as long as the performance is good, right. I feel like it'll be worth it. But yeah, I think this one's going to be good. We'll see. The jury's out. We won't know till we see it. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this first look at Gorr. I think Natalie Portman, it was nice to see a bit more of her in this trailer too. Kind of get a feel for how she would be coming onto the scene, not as a damsel, it seems like she will be entering the scene as an already established hero, which is really cool because we haven't caught up with that character in quite a while. So I think that's a smart way to take it.
Yeah, and no one wants a frickin' origin story. Oh, by the way, hello to the CW Spiral, who is on the YouTube feed. Good to see you. The fact that Dan is still whelmed by Marvel will never not be funny. Well, CW Spiral overwhelmed me. Or just if you want me to not be whelmed, then stop whelming me. Do something incredible. I'll see it. Anyway, moving on, because we want to get to the main event for today. Before we get into our spoiler-free early review of Stranger Things Season 4 coming out this Friday on Netflix, let's hit some George R.R. Martin, a song by his entire author, Game of Thrones creator, Fire and Blood writer. George R.R. Martin has been making the rounds lately. He's been hitting the press trail, I think mostly for House of the Dragon, because it's coming up in the near future. He was at a Santa Fe literary festival, which is his hometown, in case anybody's worried that he took time out of his writing schedule to travel halfway around the world to attend a con. He went to like a Santa Fe in his backyard convention, was on stage, talked for a bit, and he did have a couple of interesting things to say. So I figured we would kind of hit that a little bit and see if any of you out there agree with his takes. Because with George R. R. Martin, it's always that issue of he says anything, all anybody wants him to say is the Winds of Winter is finished. But he is a smart guy, and I did like what he said about the forthcoming inevitable rivalry between the House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones show coming out in August, and the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, the new Lord of the Rings show coming out right after in early September. He's basically saying, because he's working on House of the Dragon, he's basically saying, there's really no reason. I don't know why everybody pits these two shows against each other. That said, I'm a little competitive. If the Rings of Power wins 6 Emmys, and I hope they do, I hope House of the Dragon wins 7. So he's saying, like, I don't know why they pit them against each other, but we are fighting each other, and I hope we win. So there's an inherent irony there that I like.
Basically. Yeah, that's basically what he said. I think that's hilarious. I'm totally down with the irony. Kudos you, George. You do you.
Yes, rock on. And then he also had some interesting things to say about sort of well, first of all, he did acknowledge Winds of Winter. He said, I get the Winds of Winter is late. We all know that. I can get 100 good comments, but then we talked about kind of the transformation of fan discourse online. Because remember, this is a guy who was online before he got really famous. Like, this is a guy who was doing basically live journal type stuff. It was not a blog on a live journal, it was close enough. Where he would just kind of go on, update people, and then he got to experience in real time, like this sort of blowing up of his fame, right as like internet discourse started to get really heated. And now he doesn't allow comments on his posts because he'll just get, spam with "why aren't you writing things" kind of comments. So he was talking about how I love the fans, although I do think Twitter and the internet and social media has brought out a viciousness I never saw in the old days. The love and hate are very close, particularly with comic books or any established franchises. And he goes on to say that I get that the Winds of Winter is late. He knows it. I can get 100 good comments, but there's still going to be a few fans out there who are going to remind me of it on my blog or whatever. I say, Happy Thanksgiving, and they say, never mind Thanksgiving, where's the book? Which is the state of things. I mean, it's just kind of normal. I just like the idea that, to me, I'm going to say a short spiel, and then I want your take, because there's a bit of a thing. Like, I think it's funny that George R.R. Martin seems to have come at the internet from like that older person viewpoint, like an early nerd who was like, the internet is going to be great. It's going to democratize everything. It's going to allow people who share passions to really find each other and really enjoy what they enjoy together online. And he's still coming around to what we know now, which is the internet is a machine for creating mass misinformation and nonsense, and that people say things without meaning it, and that, if there's an opportunity to kind of just say something horrid, it seems to tickle a part of the lizard brain that's really fun, and they just kind of do it. And I just like watching the slow, like, realization crash into reality. And I'm glad that's happening in a wider space, and it's fun to watch it happen in the evolution of George R.R. Martin's comments. Your response, Daniel, Roman.
Yeah, I feel like, so I've been following George's blog probably since like a couple years after A Feast for Crows came out, and like, let's say like 2007. It's been really fascinating to watch the evolution of comments and people badgering him on his blog, because he didn't always have comments closed. And he kind of went through this with a Dance with Dragons, where people were always getting on him about, when is the book coming out? Are you still working on it? But the discourse was more civil then, even, and this is like 2009, we'll say, right as Game of Thrones is getting ready to start airing.
Right.
And it was more civil. So it makes him sound like an old guy to be like, oh, it's brought out this viciousness I never saw in the old days. But at the same time, like, if you look at his blog as a microcosm of the internet, he's not wrong, because now it's to the point where, like you said, he can't say Happy Thanksgiving without people getting on him about the book. I think the internet, I mean, it's definitely brought out a different kind of fan entitlement because the access is greater, right? Like, it used to be anonymous people, like, for them to badger George R.R. Martin to write a book, they would have to write him emails or letters or something. Now it's as easy as responding to a tweet. So yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think it's probably feels really surreal for him as someone who, was selling short stories in like the 70s. Who could have imagined where we'd be now? So yeah, I don't blame him for kind of having that perspective. And I don't blame him for drawing boundaries. I feel like when you're in the position he's in, where he's become a celebrity over the past decade, like a celebrity author, which is different than just a famous one. It means you can't have a normal trip to the airport without getting approached by people. Yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do. So
do you think think there's another author who is as much of a celebrity as George R. R. An author, a celebrity author. I can't really think of many. Like someone like James Patterson or who's the Rainbow Six? Like Tom Clancy, well, he's dead, are like really big names.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're recognized though. George R. R. Martin like doesn't just have a big name and fame. He has like a costume he wears, those damn suspenders and the beard and that turtle hat. Like, like, oh, J.K. Rowling, of course, Tasha, obviously, yes. You're 100% right. Yes,
she's the other one. Yeah, I think she's the only other one. You know, Stephen King too, maybe.
Oh, Stephen King. There are tons.
To me, those are the three. I can't think of another author who is as visibly recognizable. And I think part of that for George too is that he looks physically distinctive. Like you said, it's basically like he's like it's not a costume, it's like his regular clothing, but like he has such a distinctive look that it can easily become a costume. You're not going to mix him up with your cousin at the airport.
You could dress as George R.R. Martin for Halloween and people would know what you're doing, you know? Like you probably couldn't dress like J.K. Rowling, I don't think so, or even Stephen King. Unless you wanted to like have been really distasteful or something, which I have some ideas for. But I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And again, part of that's just he's got a distinctive look and he's been rocking it for decades. So
yeah, he stays consistent. Yeah. It's a part of the brand.
I can't think of another author who would inspire Halloween costumes.
Neil Gaiman, maybe a little bit. Like he has a distinctive look, but it's not as suspenders, beard, but whatever. But yes, he's a celebrity. He's dealing with it. It's fun to watch, and we'll check and we'll check back in on this when there's another update, which we're all hoping there will be of a good kind soon. And now, Daniel, Daniel. Oh, Edgar Allan Poe, says Richard. Yes, the classic Edgar Allan Poe look, which is a sad, distant
Mr.
eyes,
Raven.
Big old mustache, gray suit, and just like liquor bottles hanging out of every pocket he has. Just like he brings one, just like blows it up. Stephanie Meyer, CW Spiral says, I don't know what Stephanie Meyer looks like. Is she really famous or like hugely recognizable? Time will tell. Anyway, Daniel, and all
she's pretty famous. It gets hard when you start. Maybe that's the next level of fame. It's like you're really famous, and then your Halloween costume famous. And Stephanie Meyer's pretty famous, but I don't know if she's Halloween costume famous.
I couldn't tell you like what her hair color is. But anyway, Daniel, I would like to get into our main course for the day, which is you and I, me and you and I and you, have both seen the first 7 episodes of that's a good one, of the 4th season of the Netflix supernatural coming of age drama, Bill Doug's Roman drama, Stranger Things. Nice. Right? Bill Doug's Roman. Remember that. Bill Doug's Roman, the weird word for a coming of age story, which we can all go and use in our Scrabble personal lives. The show's been out for 3 seasons. It was a hit from the start. It is a original sci-fi piece about these kids living in an Indiana town that is beset by interdimensional monsters. I always liked the show. For whatever reason, I never really loved it, but I always liked it. I always respected it. And I think this 4th season has pretty much stayed the course for me because they're released in 2 parts, people. The first 7 episodes come out this Friday, and the final 2 will come out in July. So Daniel, my first question to you is, you've watched the first 7 episodes. Yeah. Did you enjoy Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1? Go.
I have.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It took me a little while to get going. I can't lie, when I started watching it, my first couple of episodes, I was kind of like expecting more to happen each episode because they're long. We can't.
They are long.
Spoilers away, but
The robot said no
I
spoilers.
think it's safe to say that there's not a single episode that is under an hour. I stopped once I kind of shelved my expectations of, I wonder if more is going to happen per episode and what have you. I really enjoyed it. I think it might be my favorite. Yeah, it might be my favorite season of Stranger Things now that I'm into it. Um, I think it's got a good villain. I think the length works for it, actually. How about you? How did you feel about this season of Stranger Things?
I liked it. I wasn't correct. Stranger Things, I'm always at a bit of a, I enjoy it. It's good. It's well made. Like this thing, you know what I like about Stranger Things the most? My favorite thing about Stranger Things is the passion and love the team puts into it. You can tell that everyone behind the scenes and in front of the camera are really giving their all, and they are really just true believers in what they're doing. Like it's down to all the tiny details in the period costumes and like all the references they make, and in all the way they build some of the action sequences, some of the dramatic sequences. Like you can see the Duffer Brothers, the guys who made it, like kind of living out their memories of bullying, maybe, because there's some very intense teenage drama stuff going on in the first couple episodes, especially. You can see them just gorging themselves on this 80s genre stuff. I mean, Stephen King, we already talked about stuff like It is a lot of influence in here. Steven Spielberg kind of, like E.T. is a big influence on this. Just kind of this story about young people growing up, a budding supernatural horror. Now, honestly, you said the first two episodes you could have said you wanted to move a little faster. I was a little disappointed. To me, this season is very kind of split. The first two episodes are more getting into the kids' lives, like what is it like? How are they just into like high school, like the younger kids are in high school now, and how are they dealing with social ostracization and kind of being on the outside. We have a thread with Lucas, Michael McLaughlin, who's kind of becoming a basketball star, and he's trying to like move it up. We have 11 getting brutally bullied, like really almost comically over exaggerated in terms of like the bullying stuff going on with this one girl who bullies her, who just is such the prototypical mean blonde horrible, awful, like a mean girl that it was almost parody.
Yeah.
And then after that, though, like the supernatural kind of plot kind of goes in hard, and we kind of lose all connection back to the real world, you know? Like Joyce, Winona Ryder, goes on her little mission, and suddenly the government gets involved, and the CIA, NSA, FBI is, tracking these people. And of course, there's this new villain who's killing folk from Hawkins. And just, I wish that it maintained like more of a connection to real life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I didn't miss it.
Screw real life.
Late into the season, yeah. I'm not watching this show for real life about 80s monsters. No, I felt like they did a good job of still grounding the real life in terms of like the characters' relationships. Like even when they're doing all this supernatural crap, they still stop to talk about their friendships and their relationships enough that honestly, even like deep into the season, I almost felt like the show almost felt more like a high school or teen drama sprinkled with paranormal stuff, as opposed to a paranormal show sprinkled with high school teen drama stuff. So I think mileage may vary there in terms of how much high school stuff you want. They kind of did this thing, and again, this is not really a spoiler. They worked around the school calendar to make it so that they didn't need to worry about it for the entire season.
They did. I don't know. I could have used more. It's with Joyce. Winona Ryder's character too has just this plot that's just very disconnected from reality that I could have used some more grounding. But I take your point that you didn't mind it.
Yeah,
I thought it could have
that's
been a little
fair.
more integrated. Like, I like
I
the
don't
first
disagree
season the
with that
most.
about Joyce.
Can I see this? What did you think of? There's been a lot of press around a spooky new villain. His name is Vecna. He looks like the Night King if his skin were grimmer, darker, and patchier. He is mean. He's bad. He murders kids. Were you frightened by this new monstrosity, Daniel? Were you? Could you elaborate?
No. No, I did not. Part of it is the hype, I think, because this season, every time anyone talks about this season, they talk about how scary it is, and it's all relative, right? Like, I grew up loving like the movies that inspired Stranger Things. So things like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Aliens, which are hard, they're terrifying compared to this.
Sure.
So I think Vecna, there are things that I think are scary about him. As throughout the season as a whole, I think Vecna is a great villain. However, out of the gate scariness, it was not as scary as I thought. I just finished rewatching season 1 last night. I think the Demogorgon was scarier because it was so much
what it was?
More unknowable, I guess, because again, I don't think this is a big spoiler. We see it from the trailers, but Vecna speaks.
Yeah, he does.
And the Demogorgon doesn't. So you never really get a feel for, like, what does the Demogorgon want? Well, it just wants to come eat you. So good luck. So yeah, I think in some ways, Stranger Things has had scarier villains, but I think overall, seeing it from the finish line, I think Vecna is going to really please fans, is what I'll say. How about you?
I agree with you that they save it at the end. The final episode is the best one. If you're watching this feeling bored and wondering if it's worth getting all the way through, I think it is. But honestly, I thought he was kind of a failure. I thought he was a bit of a flop. Like most of the season, most of his episodes, you can feel them trying so hard to make Vecna seem scary, like with the canted angles and the music, and then the deep guttural voice of just like, it's time to end your pain. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought it failed. I thought we saw way too much of him. I thought we saw, like, both in like terms of his screen time and just like seeing his entire body, his entire face, and hearing him speak. It did not work for me. I didn't feel tension. Like, and they don't have him. He kills people, which is cool. But he at this point, Stranger Things hasn't really convinced me it's going to kill anybody we know. Because when it killed one person, Hopper, last season, it brought him back very publicly. That's not a spoiler. He's back, and I don't like that he's back.
No.
So just I think they have a hard time selling me on the danger of it. And the fact that Vecna was a little chatterbox, and he didn't say, like, when Freddy Krueger talked, it was like entertaining. Like when Vecna talks, it's very off the back of the dime store horror novels sort of stuff. So I wasn't terribly amused by it or terrified by it. I thought he flopped. Yeah, I didn't like it until there's a twist part of the way through that I thought really rehabilitated him. But we can't say what that is. But honestly, nah, a boot on Vecna for me.
Fair
That's
enough.
cool.
Good. What did you think about the lengths of the episodes? Because these are long. The episode 7 is longer than A Nightmare on Elm Street. Do you think it worked?
I totally did. Yeah, I know that you had some problems with it, but yeah, I never looked at the clock while I was watching these. I thought they passed by pretty fleetly. The early ones I really enjoyed a lot. that last one, I was entertained all the way through. So I liked the season, by the way, just because I had some problems with it. I know there's some issues. Yeah, I did not mind the lengths. I thought it worked. I mean, maybe I could find like some meta textual complaints about it, that it speaks to growing egos on the part of the producers, or what is TV anyway now. But while I was watching, I enjoyed the episodes, and I never really felt like, let's hurry this along. I got to pick up the kids from the sitter, wrap it up. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, that's fair. I think so. I was never bored with the lengths. I never felt like, this should have been shorter. The main thing that I came around to with the lengths of the episodes was just wondering if it could have been a more exciting story if things had been a little more condensed. It felt like there was a lot of fluff. It was great fluff and enjoyable fluff. But I did we'll say bullying scenes. There were a lot of bullying scenes. I wondered if they could have just made the same points with less scenes. But I think by the time, I think the lengths are actually fascinating. It feels like Stranger Things is really doing something we haven't seen it before, maybe in terms of marrying television and movies this season, that only a platform like Netflix would let them get away with. Because once I got out of the mindset of these are long episodes of television and started thinking of it more like these are almost like short movies with a regular length movie as the seventh episode, I started enjoying it a lot more. And yeah, I think in terms of it's very bingeable. I made this point in one of my reviews that will be out this weekend about this, that even though it feels like some episodes don't move over much throughout them, because you can watch them all, it kind of alleviates that. I think if this were airing week to week, it would have bugged me a lot more. And this, one thing I will say, if you watching have been wondering whether you should rewatch Stranger Things before the new season, I would actually recommend rewatching it after you watch the new season, because this season fascinatingly leads perfectly into a rewatch. I won't spoil why, I won't spoil how, but it is set up to make you rewatch basically the early seasons by the time you finish volume 1.
I have a follow-up question about that, Daniel, but first, Christian's comment: can a longer episode length keep the audience off kilter? I don't think so. I mean, I will point out, Daniel, you're saying it's never done before. There's another show called Game of Thrones that toward the end of its life started to have really long episodes to the point where it was short little movies. And this was the Game of Thrones season. I think we're still living in the shadow of that final season of Game of Thrones, or the show in general. It's more and more common for episodes to get longer and longer. So I think that whole kind of blending of movies and TV thing has been going on for a while. I don't know how much longer,
but not to this extent.
I guess we haven't had a proper. That was a proper
movie.
That final one was a proper movie, and I did like it. Can I ask you this?
Episode 9.
Oh, it's 2.5 hours. It's a long movie. It's a too long.
That's like
movie.
The Dark Knight. Yeah.
I think it's longer than Doctor Strange and the Madness in the Multiverse, or whatever it's called. Yeah, that's pretty
easily
intense. It's longer than Thor: Love and Thunder. So yeah, is it ambition or is it indulgence? I guess we'll find out when it happens. But part of me is if you want to make a movie, why don't you go make a movie? You're making TV, make a TV show, make an episode. The point of TV is you make episodes that you can watch, one or two at a time, or one at a time, on your lunch break or during dinner or something. A 2.5 hour thing, you are not making TV anymore. You're making something else. And I guess we'll see whether that breaks into new horizons or whether it'll be a failure. Cool. I have a follow-up question.
That's exactly my hit me with it.
Well, also we do have Blatru on the YouTube. Says, do we check the comments? We do, Blatruth. They're on Facebook and YouTube. and we kind of go back and forth. And thank you, Lord Crackhead, for which was a good week. Oh, actually, Blue Truth has a really good question for you, Daniel. How is Sadie Sink?
Oh my God, Sadie Sink is amazing.
As Max,
to me, was one of the MVPs of the season. Yeah, Max. She was one of the absolute MVPs of the season. That she was fantastic. Max was like, I liked Max before this season. After this season, she's one of my favorite characters, easily.
She has one of the better episodes. Yeah.
Totally agree. And yeah, that's so to tie things back around to what we were talking about lengthwise. I think what you said about like you're not making TV anymore when it's a 2.5 hour thing. You're making movies. You make a movie. That's what I feel like gave me problems with this season. It was an expectation adjustment because it is like at that point you're basically making a show with a movie as a finale.
Yes, you are.
So yeah, it is. It feels different because of that. Even like Game of Thrones, they were movie length, but they still felt like episodes of television. I think more than this does, more than episode 7 of this or episode 9 are going to.
I enjoyed it though. I have a problem with this. We'll see when we get to 2.5 hour one. Okay, I have a question that I want to ask you. As Lord Crackhead says, I hope the Dark Phoenix moment has a good explanation. And it does. I think after you watch the first episode, you'll have a good idea of what's happening there. So yeah, we can't say what's happening, but it makes sense. And she does have a really strong climactic moment that is part emotional catharsis, part 80s music video, part supernatural 2001-esque trippy mind explosion. It was good. It's a good bit. Okay, Daniel, I have a question that I'm going to ask you, and the challenge for both of us here is to not reveal spoilers. You said that this leads right into a rewatch. So I haven't rewatched it. You have, although I've watched all the same things that you have. Can I ask you this? When you rewatch it, does it feel like the big twists from season 4 were planned? Like, do you see shadows of them in the earlier seasons or hints? Or does it feel like they fashioned it to kind of retrofit onto the earlier stuff, provide a retrospective explanation? But no spoilers.
I think, okay, so no spoilers. I don't know that I would say it feels like it was always planned. Rewatching it, it's not like, oh yes, I can see this is what they were moving toward the whole time. But I think what they did in season 4 meshes together so well that there's never a moment where it feels like they had to struggle to retcon. Like they very comfortably like colored around the lines that they had already made to broaden the mythos of the show. And it really impressed me the amount of callbacks they managed to sneak into season 4 back to the first season. And rewatching the first season, how many like little throwaway lines became relevant in season 4, to the degree that like, so I will avoid spoilers here. Someone mentions Penhurst Asylum in the very first episode of season 1. That is a place that all we'll say is it's relevant this season, and it hasn't really been relevant any other season. Sure. So there are things like that where it's like, wow, whether they plan this or not, they certainly, the continuity feels like it's there.
As Christian says, so like Lost. So they're kind of appending things as they go and hoping it all hangs together.
Not like Lost.
Continuity. not like Lost. I also like Butcher's question.
Not like Lost. Way better than Lost.
Way better than Lost. I never saw Lost. I also like Butcher's question. And does Will have an unrequited crush on Eleven's boyfriend, Mike? The season isn't over, But honestly, Butcher, that occurred to me while watching this season, and I fully thought that's where they were going to go, because if he doesn't have if they're not doing like a young coming out gay thing, it's going to feel like a cop out at this point, because there's a lot of setup for it. And I wonder if that's where they're going to go in the latter half of the season. But so far in this season, it's just like he's young and awkward and misses his friend. But if they don't do it, it's a queer baiting hate crime. I'll say that. No, it's not. I'm kidding. But I was watching it being like, oh,
I agree.
They're totally
I agree
leading
with that.
to like him being interested in Mike, right? That's got to be it. This is very, very giving that vibe. But so far, no. But
yeah,
more episodes. We'll
I
see.
wondered that too.
Too. But any other final thoughts, Dan, Yul, Roman, on the upcoming 4th season of Stranger Things Volume 1?
I don't think so. I think we hit on everything we can talk about without giving anything away. So I'll just say I think it was one of the better seasons of the show. It might be my favorite season of the show. And yeah, it's good. I think we're going to be talking about this for a while.
Ooh.
How about you? Closing thoughts?
That finale is going to have people talking. I guarantee that finale is going to have people talking. And I'm looking forward to it. It was the best one. I want to talk about it. I'm excited for the thing to come out so I can talk about what happens in the finale. There are some fun twists. I wish the rest of the season were a little more better put together so we can get there faster. But it's solid. It's good TV. The finale makes it worth it. And no, Natalie, I've never seen Lost. I don't know. I just kind of skipped that one. I'm not sure how it slipped past me. I was busy when that thing was on. I was in school. Is the thing. But yeah, it's out on May 27th. It's coming up in a couple of days. If you have Netflix, feel free to enjoy. And if you don't have Netflix, they surely want you to subscribe, because they are losing subscribers for the first time ever, which is pretty exciting, I think.
Nice. Yeah.
Christian, disappointed in me for not seeing
Lost. It does
Lost.
feel like we maybe hit it feels like the bubble's bursting a little bit on the streaming wars. It
does. It's very cool. I mean, it couldn't keep growing forever. There are only so many people in the freaking world with internet subscriptions. Like, you just can't. I said before, unless Netflix starts like laying internet infrastructure in countries that don't currently have it, they've kind of hit a cap. Like, there's nowhere to go but down, which is fun. I like that. And there's more competition, so it's all good. Anyway, Daniel, should we move on to the final segment? The patented, not really, the trademark, but not really, the signature WiC News Lightning Round.
I think maybe we should. Maybe we should. Let us lightning.
Ooh, okay, before that, really quick.
All right. So I think
one second. Butcher has a very good question on the YouTube. Can you rank the 4 storylines based on how much you like them? Okay, blah. One spoiler thing is there are actually 5, and I'm gonna see if I can rank them real quick without spoiling anything. The best one is definitely overall 11's. Because of the ending mostly. Second is the kids in Hawkins. The kids in Hawkins doing their thing. And then we have like stuff in California and stuff around Hopper, both of which are varying levels of whatever. That's mine.
Yeah, I can't decide if I agree with that. So mostly agree. I would put Hawkins first for me. I would put 11 second. I would put probably the Russia one third. Hopper's storyline third. And then California is dead last for me. No contest. I felt like they did a little bit of a disservice. They didn't really know what to do with the characters in California. That was one of my biggest beefs with Volume 1.
I had such high hopes for this new sprawl thing they were doing, and it started off pretty strong, but I don't know. Perhaps this show isn't meant to like have lots of storylines going at once, because it never quite worked out the way it did in Game of Thrones. But we are going to move on.
I mean, it did in earlier seasons. So like season 1 had a bunch of plot lines running at once. But they were all like
related,
circling each other. So it didn't feel like they had 4 or 5 plot lines because they were so close that it was like lots of near misses. And it doesn't, now it still has the same plot lines, but they're so far apart that it doesn't feel that way anymore.
Right.
So I agree. I don't know if that is going to make the show stronger in the long run. Jury's out.
I think season 5 will be okay, Jill, we got it. We'll be a little better as everything kind of gets pulled back in. It was good. Looking forward to it. All right. Julie wants the lightning round. We're going to give her the lightning round. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Daniel, but I wanted to answer that question. Please proceed.
No, it was necessary. It was totally necessary. Thanks for for pausing for the rankings is never the wrong choice.
Oh, I love rankings.
So lightning round. I think I'm going to read to you first. And it's about Netflix. So cool. Netflix, speaking of Netflix and all their records and trials and tribulations, Netflix's live action Avatar: The Last Airbender remake just set a Guinness World Record for the world's largest LED stage.
Yeah, technically it's like the stage is the biggest stage ever made in the world and they're filming on it. They're kind of helping set the record. It's kind of cool how the streaming wars are coming to a bit of a middle, but the TV show arms race is only heating up. Who can spend the most money, do the most stuff, be the most elaborate? It's going to be cool to watch them, but try and top each other. That was what we call perfect, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel.
Agree.
The movie, feature film, motion picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once breaks a domestic box office record for A24 films.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. It was a wildly original and fun movie. It's great to see it setting records like this. It's only earned like 50 million at the box office, but for an independent film in this age of superhero movies, it's doing really well. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Always want to praise originality in something that's
I don't know if
Richard's
Richard's just being kind to me on the buzzer or what.
It's over now.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of things that are franchise based,
oh no,
and maybe having a little bit of problems, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial is going on right now. It's all sorts of stuff, and it came out through that Jason Momoa reportedly fought to keep Amber Heard from getting fired from Aquaman 2.
Why would you put this on here? Now I have to weigh in on this hot potato of an issue, and I'm going to be like pilloried on Twitter. Yeah, that was the report. But apparently they came back the next day and another witness said that's not what happened. So that trial is where the truth goes to die. And I'm just looking forward to it being over. That's what we call perfect, ladies and gentlemen.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. I mean, okay, here's a controversial one for you. Warner Bros. Is committed to making more Harry Potter stuff. And we'll be meeting with J.K. Rowling to discuss the franchise's future, possibly on HBO Max, is what I heard.
Yeah, so I don't enjoy this. I feel like Harry Potter has already become such a cat. It just feels like everyone has tried to cash in on it so hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I if she wanted to do more Harry Potter, I wish she'd write more books. Instead, I feel like they're just trying to make money any way they can, and I'm kind of over it.
Yeah. Harry Potter. More like Harry,
so
not her.
Dan.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a burn worthy of Slytherin.
No, it was terrible. Thank you.
Okay, Dan. Timothy Innes, who played King Edward on The Last Kingdom, didn't want to film one crucial scene of season 5.
Yeah,
which is when everybody turns on him and tells him he's a jerk.
Yeah, I recall that scene. I mean, I recall the interview was not like I refused to film it. It was more just he didn't want to play the scene where his character is the asshole, is the bad guy, which makes sense. But he did it. It was a good scene. I remember that scene. Solid season, good show, movie coming up. What fun. About all I have to say about that. I am a perfect human being. I'm getting all of these just ideal on the nose. Okay, Daniel, it's a fun one for you. The third season of The Boys, the Amazon Prime Video superhero show, will include a plot line called Herogasm that involves a superhero orgy. They're going to turn up the raunch even further, which is going to be hard because that show has been pretty raunchy and gross already. Interested?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's hilarious. They're doing this basically because people have been daring them to do it since season 1. Like, the show was getting made, and whenever they told people they were making the show, apparently they responded like, oh, you're not doing Herogasm, right? You won't do it. I dare you. So at this point, Amazon can't say no to them as easily, so they just said, we're going to do it. The Boys.
Lovely. The Boys. The Boys. I'm looking forward to it. I got screeners today. I'm looking forward to that.
Ooh, nice.
Boys.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, it will.
It's like the one thing you can always count on The Boys to be entertaining. Always. Okay, Dan. So the CW, they canceled Riverdale. The network's cancellation spree continues.
Yes, so they did, but also, no, they didn't cancel Riverdale. Like, Riverdale is 7 seasons into its life. When you get canceled when you're 6 seasons going on 7, it's not canceled. It's just an end. So I thought that one was a bit of like an appending onto the whole cancel thing. But they are cleaning house over at that network.
Yeah.
Perfect game. Perfect game. Perfect game.
Boom.
Perfect game. I'm going to try for that last one. Okay.
Nice.
200 in bowling or 300. What's the high one in bowling? Whatever. Okay. Daniel, you're the penultimate one. Disney Plus, this is the big one, is developing a new Daredevil series. I assume one starring Charlie Cox from the old Daredevil Netflix series.
Yeah. I'm excited to see more Daredevil. I'm nervous because the old Daredevil was so edgy that like there's no way Disney's going to do something that edgy as the old Daredevil. So whenever I think about them making more Daredevil stuff, I think about the Kingpin wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and that's my microcosm for fear.
That is a very good point. Yes, I have the exact same feeling. We'll see what happens, man.
Yeah. All right, Dan, the final lightning round. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Stranger Things creators, Matt and Ross Duffer, have a reported meltdown after a tie-in Monopoly goes on sale early and spoils major plot points from season 4.
I mean, that's pretty funny. I mean, my main question is, now that you and I have seen the season, like, what do you think was on those community chest cards? Like, what could they have spoiled that got the Duffer Brothers so mad? Like, what's being revealed as you pass go and don't collect 200 Stranger Things dollars? Like, that's what I'm really wondering about. I think they're too precious about spoilers. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that my best
Yeah.
Lightning performance ever.
That was a pretty good one. And for the spoiler thing, I will just say, since we've seen volume 1, there is at least one card that got spoiled that has not happened yet. That is from volume 2. So it is like some late game, not plot, like major plot events, but there are things that haven't happened by the end of volume 1 that are on those cards. So I can understand them getting mad.
I mean, there's a bigger question to be answered there, but that's the Lightning Round, man. We got to end it there. We can do another episode on the perils of merchandising and the relationship between art and commerce and all of that hot garbage. But for right now, it's the end of our show. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with you, Dan, talking to you. A lot of fun with everybody out there in internet land. CW Spiral, by the way, says that no one's sad about Riverdale being canceled. It was time. I mean, 7 seasons, that's a long life for most TV shows. That's not like being cut off at the knees before it's time. Anyway, we do this little show of ours every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Winners Coming Facebook page and the Winners Coming YouTube page. We're also available in podcast format wherever podcasts are available, be it Google Play, be it iTunes, be it any other place where you download podcasts. And remember, it's the only podcast co-hosted by a WiC News Lightning Round perfect game getter, Dan Selcke. Until next time, everybody, goodbye.